Well,
another week.
look who just showed up. And I have to chuckle because she said she didn't think she's going to make it to the show. And I said, well, that's okay. I always used to tell people, if you can't make it to the meeting, we'll talk about you.
Yeah. Hi, Jessica.
Welcome, Jessica.
Hi, happy Thursday, everyone. And I made it. I'm so happy.
You put the paintbrush down. I know you're painting your house. So
I did. Can you see any in my hair?
no, good lighting. When I paint, I get more here than I do on I'm not a good painter. So
I hate painting.
I despise
it. Looks like I have white hair. You can't see that on my arms.
Well, what I thought I'd go over today, I wanted to kind of go through some of the cities and show what our annual appreciation here and compare a couple, because there's a couple of standouts. And then Pat, I want to come to you, and because we know that rates have come down. You can see there in the ticker down below 6.1 and even lower than that in some cases. And then let's talk about, the marry the house, date the rate people. Is their time coming? So I want to drill into that a little bit. I was never a fan of marry the house, date the rate. One, because I just didn't like
the way it sounds.
I don't like slogans that run across the industry in social media. Tell them this, and I didn't like it because it didn't have enough certainty for me. Now, maybe it was a good idea and it worked out for people, but I like to know what my payment is, and can I afford it? And if rates don't go down, am I still okay? I don't like to say, I'm going to be a little uncomfortable with this payment and then refinance it later. But, it might have worked out well for people.
It did sound cheesy after a bit. I mean, the first time I heard about it, yeah, okay. But then after a while, it's like, okay, enough.
Yeah. It got worn out in a hurry. Ooh, that's a neat slogan. I can tell people that, along with the 17,000 other people.
Well, because at this point, they're out of the honeymoon stage of dating the rate and sometimes the house and ready to move on. So
That's right. Well, here's our inventory. Jessica, are you feeling that out there? Are you feeling there's more listings? It all depends on the price point.
Yep.
It's not much. I mean, we went from 18,400 to 18,705 according to the chart. Last time I checked, mid-afternoon, I think we're 18.8, something like that. So it's considerably higher than it was. I see comments that go, there's a lot more for sale signs on my street. But I think when you haven't had any for sale signs on your street, 2 seems like a lot. And, but I'm not seeing a ton of new listings showing up. In other words, when you really get in, you got a search set up, and you get in and you look, and then Thursdays are usually when the listings come up, and you look at it and you go, wow, there's only one.
Yeah.
You ladies running into that too?
Yeah, there's not a lot in the searches as far as you might usually expect 20 to 30, and maybe you're getting 10 to 15 that match the criteria.
Yeah. Woe is us, right?
Yep.
Here's the Cromford Market Index, which is a leading indicator on supply and demand, and it is just in the basement, not going up or down. The overall index that I looked at, waiting for the numbers to cross, when if I can get rid of this little pen here, looking at supply and demand crossing, and they didn't. I kind of thought they were getting to where they would. See that, where the red line is, number of contracts or demand, and the blue line is listings, that they're also flat lines. So until those cross, you don't feel a lot of pricing pressure. So speaking of pricing pressure, and I know you gals and guys are going to have a lot to say about this, because this is annual appreciation. So last year in Avondale, you saw that they were down like 6.1% annually, and now they're up 2.38. So most of the cities we're going to see here have recovered from the annual depreciation that they had last year. Buckeye, about the same, down almost 5% and up about 4.1. Cave Creek, and I won't plow through every city here, but you can see that it's pretty much a broken record. But the one standout that I wanted to show, well, let's look at Maricopa before I show.
Rick, can I back you up so that back in like 2022, that one chart right at the tip of it, that's the annual appreciation rate would have been right like 20. What's that number?
This is, let's
Right
see.
at the 2022 where the chart starts.
Yeah, September 15th, 2022.
So that would have been the
September
annual appreciate. I mean, just to try to read this chart,
27.8%
was the average annual appreciation for
Maricopa.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Just okay.
And then it got down to negative territory.
Okay.
Came up. Mesa, same thing. I mean, everybody was off the charts getting into, right? Just nuts. But what's this? Paradise Valley. Let's compare Paradise Valley to Chandler. So when did interest rates go up? Right down here, right? So here's an interest rate environment, and here's where interest rates do not affect the annual appreciation because most of those are high end. A lot of them are cash.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
But why did it go down here? Any guesses? Speculation? Pat, what do you think?
What month is that? July? Starting in June, July?
Yeah.
What was the
Yeah,
inventory like? Was it lack of inventory?
I mean, the people leave the town. They leave town.
Summertime.
Yeah.
But that's annual appreciation, so maybe
Okay.
not. But I think the stock market was kind of taking a little bit of a hit, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that might have something to do with it. We'll ask the audience to, chime in and tell me what they think. But it's just really interesting when you look at the differences between all the other markets and the high-end market, especially when we go to Scottsdale. It's somewhat similar. They got down to where their annual appreciation was flat, and now it's up 8.4 annually. So Scottsdale's doing good. And then you got Surprise here and Tempe. But Paradise Valley is a world in and of itself. And then finally here, sales per month. This is a busy chart. So you really kind of have to look and go, okay, what do I want to glean out of this? And Pat, you and I were looking at this one this morning, and we looked at, let's see, when did we get that rate spike, Pat?
We saw kind of a surge as far as like April, May and June of last year.
2023, May and June. Okay, so that would have affected July and August sales, right?
Yeah.
So here's July and August. I'm gonna circle those two right here. That's July and August compared to the rest of the market, and compared to now, you can see where the dip was. Now this dip that we're seeing here is again seasonal sales per month, and then of course we're not all the way through the month, but August 2024 we've got 5,200 sales per month. If I go to August 2023, we're at 5,736. So we're just about right there now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we're not seeing when we actually see rates coming down now, we're not seeing that needle move yet. Are you?
No, I'm not. Oh, sorry.
No, good. We can say this, talk over each other. I mean, I mean, some people are busy. Some people, it's just a bifurcated market. There's people who are busier, but I just don't see that surge of people say, hey, I can get rates in the, high fives, low sixes, like we did back in, April, May of last year.
Do you feel that, and I know we keep talking about a rate sensitive market. We looked at the charts and stuff, but the affordability is not gone away. Even when I look and I say, okay, rates are coming down, that will help with the payment. And the payment has improved from this year to the last time that rates were at 8%. But then you have to say, well, what's the payment today compared to it was, let's just say 2 years ago? It's still considerably higher, even though rates are down. And that's what's got buyers screaming.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I can't do it. I just can't do it. So
but I mean, we'll see what happens, obviously, with the feds.
Jessica, new build, new construction. And I know I've asked you, I really want to get out to Blossom Rock with you next week and go out and take a look at that. Are you getting much in the way of inquiries and new builds, a little bit more than what we're seeing in resale?
I'm not. It's pulled back, just like resales in the summertime. We just watched, we've got someone who watches our show who's been pretty heavy with a Tri-Point home out in Santan Valley and Shea. So we were looking at a Tri-Point, and Shea just dropped a price on one of their specs. So a price reduction in new build was interesting this week. I didn't expect that, right? It was a spec. So they're motivated to push that. I haven't been out there this week. I saw the listing come through, and the buyer said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I said, "That's great news, as far as prices coming down from a buyer's perspective." So Blossom Rock itself, and there's another smaller subdivision that I'd love for us to do a little tour on out there. The smaller end homes are moving quicker, and their incentives are still pretty aggressive and staying about the same.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they're dropping. Well, maybe I'm not surprised that they're dropping the pricing, but I've certainly had a few emails come across my desk that make me, wow, they're offering a 4% co-broke.
Well, some of those, some builders, it's the end of their fiscal year, the month of September. So in just the last few days, I've gotten so many text messages, calls, emails from builders representatives shouting out their 4% co-brokes if you close in the month of September, 3.99 interest rates. Syntex had 3.75 on one of their communities out here, which is crazy. So and then it jumps up a little bit if you do an October, November closing. So yeah, they're really aggressively trying to get people in right now.
So,
but then I have a buyer I'm working with that I reviewed all that with him, and he still wanted to go out further because he can get more house for his money still. So
interesting.
Like you're going to be paying more on the interest rate more, but it's whatever.
Pat, what's going on with rates?
What's going on with rates? I mean, it's been pretty quiet. I mean, obviously everybody's kind of waiting for the meeting next week. Everything's pretty much baked into it. I mean, there seems like there's resistance. The trend has been definitely downward you look at these are MBS 5% coupon prices. So as they go up, rates are going down. So the trend has been your friend since, like I said, since October. You're going to see this, short-term resistance. I mean, there's a floor. It seems like right around I think it was 366, right around 365 on the. So we're right there at the floor. At right here. There's obviously different resistance levels, but it has been coming down. We're seeing a good improvement. We've seen a great improvement the last couple months. I mean, come from the low sevens to right now. This is like I said, $475,000 purchase, 5% down, 780 credit score. So you can get in with a cost of $2,200. My best lender, Provident, you can get 5.875 on those rates. So it's definitely there. In terms of refinances, I think, like I said, been saying the last couple of months, the trend is your friend. I think people it depends on if you're going to refinance, it depends on your loan amount, because if you got a larger loan amount, if you're going to save $500, $600, $700, $800 in a month, which some people can, if you got a large loan amount in the sevens or, high sevens, it's not really going to pay for every month that you wait. If you're saving $800 a month to get that extra eighth or a quarter of a point, might not be worth it. So, but rates they've definitely been going the right way. I think you're going to have there's going to be little plateaus. We went from the CPI numbers now to the job data the last couple of years. And, now it's everything's dependent on the jobs and the Fed. September 8th, they meet, and then they meet November 6th and 7th, and then they meet again December 17th and 18th. So in between, after we get past the September meeting, I think with the trend being the way it's looking, obviously rates when they come out, the federal fund rate has nothing to do with mortgage rates, because people call, oh, I saw they cut the rate by 50 basis points, as we always talk about. That has nothing to do with it. The market always looks forward. Forward. It's a forward-looking market, so they're going to look into say, okay, what's going to be the next cut? That's going to be the next talk, and I think that'll be the level that we might see a little bit lower level. Rates jockeying down a little bit lower. The next.
So when you say it's going to be the talk, so we're probably going to see them say, here's what we're cutting today, but here's what we're thinking our next move is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when we'll see the mortgage market move.
Yeah. Yep. So the trend is your friend. I mean, rates have been, it's a hell of a lot better than 7.25 or 7.5, or I'm sure, like I said, some banks that were quoting probably high 7s, 8, back in the last year. So, it's a difference. I was running some numbers. I think it was like a $371 difference on like a $475,000 loan, about a $370 a month payment difference. So, it's definitely helped affordability. And, now with the election, there's some, I think people waiting a little bit there. So, we'll see.
Hey, Pat, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So the rate buy downs right now are so much more affordable than they were a couple months ago. Is that correct? For a lot of those buyers out there that haven't considered that?
I mean, like the 2-1 buy down?
Yeah. Even permanent buy downs. They were just even permanent.
Oh yeah. They're definitely, I mean, like, rates have gone down lower. Yes. I mean, there probably is a little bit better of a, obviously more advantage for them. The 2-1 buy down, still, you're basically, because 2-1 buy down, you're just splitting up the difference in the payment. So it's still probably about, on $450,000, it'd be about $8 or $9 grand. But, if you start at, say, 5.875, if you do a 2-1 buy down, your starting rate's going to be 3.875. If you get a 2-1 buy down for a year. So it
seems cheaper than it was. It is cheaper than it was at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
So I think buyers don't understand some of those options. So I think it's important to share that information, that there are affordable options.
If rates do, it certainly makes more sense to buy down the rate now than when a rate was at, say, 7.5 or 8, to buy it down to, if you were at 7.75, let's say, let's buy my rate down at 6.75, with the rates that they were where they were a year ago. It just didn't make any sense to just spend that money permanently to the bank, because you knew that, okay, I'm a betting man that rates will probably eventually loosen up. Now you start getting lower rates, if you get where people can buy it down permanently, it might make some sense, but it's on a case-by-case basis, certainly. But like you said, refis, I'm just waiting. I just want to wait, kind of to make some calls. Like I said, I don't want to get people jumping. I don't want to be the first horse out of the gate, out of the arena, because I think rates are going to go, the trend is your friend. So let's ride it for a while.
You said something about wholesale mortgage had a product the other day. I can't remember what it was. You were telling me something about wholesale mortgage had something out there.
Oh, United Wholesale Mortgage.
United Wholesale. Okay.
United. Yeah, they're coming across. They've got this. They've got a pricing. They call it Refi 75. I mean, I'm running some refi rates. Like on this one scenario, I think it was like 5.62. Let's see here. Yeah, 5.625 is a credit. You can get down to about 5.5 with a cost of about $1,000. With with this one scenario that I ran, it was like 65% LTV, but they're running this. They're running this special. It's pretty aggressive right now because they're trying to get ahead of the refi market.
That's worth people looking into that. So I got a question for my fellow realtors here. You got a buyer, your buyer's wealthy, and they want to purchase a property without the buyer's name being disclosed. Now, I've seen this several times with my dad, that, buyers would come in from out of state and they wanted to be able to purchase some property without anybody knowing who they were. And so have you run into that before?
I've heard of it, but I haven't personally run into it. I know Jackie has dealt with that in the past, but I don't know how they do that.
It's common in commercial real estate where they come in, like, for example, Costco was looking for some land up in Sequim, Washington, and all they knew was there was a corporation that was looking for a large chunk of land, and they didn't want anybody to know who they were. So they bought the land, and then they go, oh, it's Costco. So I'm going to come back to that in a minute. I want to get Stephanie's comments up here. If you currently have a 5.875 interest rate loan, is it too early to consider a refi, or do we have to wait?
Yeah, I mean, I'd wait. I mean, obviously, right now, you'd have to see rates depending on the loan amount. Everybody says, you want to have a 1% difference, but yeah, I mean, there's not going to be that much of a cost savings at 5.875 right now. You'd have to see a run down into the low fives, high fours, if you want, do a permanent buy down. So.
He didn't realize Jeff Bezos was buying his $79 million Indian Creek home, and now he's suing. Guy was selling his house to an anonymous buyer. They get in, they close. He finds out it's Jeff Bezos, and he felt he could have got $6 million more for the property. Now, here, a couple things of the story, a little backstory on this. One, Jeff Bezos owns the property next door. This is in a high-end neighborhood. This is where Jared Kirshner lives.
Shaquille O'Neal, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, he knew that Jeff Bezos had the house next door. So Jeff Bezos had a different reason for wanting to buy this house, where he felt that any other buyer would probably pay more for the property, or Jeff Bezos would actually pay more for the property. Because he wanted it for different reasons. So he felt, well, if I'd have known it was him, I would have pushed him up a little bit, but you don't have to disclose that in a lot of states. So most of these guys buy homes under a trust or an LLC. So this guy, he says Jeff Bezos made headlines when he paid $68 million for a 2.8 acre property in Miami's Indian Creek Village. Then he bought the roughly, 19,000 square foot house next door for $79 million a few months later. The seller of the home is suing the brokerage. What do you think of that?
It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, if you're selling $80 million home, you're probably gonna spend $2 million in lawyer fees trying to get that $6-7 million back. It's kind of preposterous. Sounds like.
Yeah,
I've seen comments of social media where somebody said, "Well, that's a material fact." Is it a material fact who the buyer is?
no,
So
no, and that could go into a whole nother realm of like, gosh, what do I want to say?
Client confidentiality.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but then like preferential, like, oh, it's this person, I'm going to charge them more, but if it's this person, then it's fine. If it's just a normal person buying a house, then it makes a difference. It doesn't make a difference who the buyer is.
Yes.
Jessica, what do you think?
So buying in the business name should have leveled the playing field. The playing field was leveled. It was make a decision on what you want to sell. Buyer and seller had an agreed contract, moved through it, and it shouldn't have played a factor in it. But of course,
Yeah, you had an asking price. The asking price was met. The buyer met all the terms.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Yeah,
Right.
That's insane.
I could have got more. Well, probably.
Should have listed it for more. Ask for more.
But you shouldn't get more because you think that guy's got bigger pockets. And this is where if you're coming in, let's say you're a cash buyer and you're going to buy a $500,000 home and you're supposed to show proof of funds. Well, don't show that you have $800,000.
Right.
Because they won't, they'll say, well, shoot, I'm not going to accept 500,000. He's got 800. He can afford to pay more.
Mhm.
And so I think the same rules apply when you find out who they are. And there's a lot of people that show up and they go to the brokerages and say, and it's usually their attorneys that come in first and say, we have an undisclosed buyer and we would like to look at homes and we'd like to see what you have. And you have to sign the agreement that the buyer is buying in confidence for a couple of reasons. One, they don't want the neighborhood to know, oh, Richard Gere's buying here. Oh, or
Just for the record, this is how I operate in real estate every year. Yeah. That's the way I operate.
Neighborhoods you want to buy in, they want to keep you out for different reasons, but so you don't disclose anything.
I don't disclose.
Yeah. You've got more sunglasses than anybody I've ever met. So I just thought I just shook my head. And then when I read some of the wonderful comments that I saw, he should have said who he was. It's nobody's business.
Yeah.
Right.
We have an obligation to our buyers of confidentiality on more than just who you are. We have financial confidentiality. Oh, here's a comment. Here it says, Rick, I made an offer on an open door house, and later they called and said they're pulling the house off the market due to $30,000 in plumbing repairs it needs. It was not in the disclosure. Is that illegal? What do you think, ladies?
Obviously, they just found out, so maybe it will be in the future.
Yeah, it probably, Rusty, it probably wasn't in the disclosure because they quite simply didn't know. They buy these houses, they do an inspection, and then they quickly slap them together and put them on the market. And during that period, when you made an offer on the house, during that period, they found this mistake. Now, it's a different thing if you wrote the contract and they accepted the contract and you found the issue during the inspection period. They still could make the decision whether or not they're going to repair it or not repair it, and you could walk away. But they're pulling the house off the market before you wrote a contract, if I understand your question correctly. So they can do that. And that's a wise thing to do, I think.
Yeah.
But you know that now. So you can say, hey, look, come back to me when it's done, because they'll probably want your offer. So, but you have to keep going back and forth with those guys quite a bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think there's nothing illegal about it. And with most unless you have a contract, there's nothing illegal about what sellers can do. They can take their house off the market at any time. People have, look at canceled listings. That's what that is. Canceled listings is a seller saying, I'm done. I thought I was going to move. I'm not going to. It didn't look like I can get the price. I thought I'd try it. I'm done. And so Stephanie here says, the plaintiff will not pass muster to satisfy legal standing. And as such, the judge will throw the case out based on lack of plaintiff's legal standing. I agree. Rusty came back and said, house been on the market 90 days, been pending once, and it's in Tempe. You're welcome. I hope we cleared that up a little bit. But I think if a house is listed, you can pull it off for any reason, right?
As long as you're not under contract with somebody, absolutely. Yeah.
When you're buying a house, you have 10 days to inspect it. And you can inspect the neighborhood and decide you don't like the neighborhood and you can back out. I like to tell people that if you're inspecting the neighborhood and you saw that your neighbor was walking around naked, you can cancel the contract. Or you can close early.
Oh, Rick.
You got to let them know. I took a different look too. And as I go through my numbers here, I was talking to Pat about this morning. So I'm looking here. We had 3,149 new listings come on the past 7 days, and 649 homes that are called back on market. Okay. People took them off. Now they put them back on the market. It almost matches what we're seeing in canceled listings. So you'll see almost 600 canceled listings. So Other houses came back on the market, and other people canceled them. And then we have 181 expired. So you've got, over the past 7 days, you have 738 homes that are now off the market. And I told Pat, I said, well, we were talking about noon or something like that. And I said, so you got 738 agents that listed the home, hired the photographer, put the sign up, drove there how many times, had so many showings, did this and did that, and now it's off the market. So they didn't make anything.
Yeah.
So that just kind of happens.
Yeah, we're often in the negative before we get to a positive.
That's right. That's right. Wife wants to close early. Husband wants to cancel offer. Right. Yep. I showed a house in Central Phoenix once, and I said, I just walked in the back. I went to look at it. I can't remember what the details were. I go, man, that's a tall fence. And he goes, oh, well, yeah, we're nudists. Well, okay then. That explains.
It takes all types.
There's a community for that north of town.
And nobody's not this time of year. So next week, any news besides it's the 18th, right? That's the big central bank announcement.
Yep. Nothing else. I mean, it's kind of sit and wait and see. You know, like you said, I think this is going to be the next couple months with the Fed, September, November, and December. Just kind of this wait. You know, something happens and wait and see. Something happens, wait and see. So, I mean, like you said, the downward trend. Let's see how it works out. So
these closeout incentives that we're seeing in new builds, you think it's going to make a difference, ladies? Or
I think if they get out,
the average consumer even know?
They don't. That's what I'm going to say is there's really no advertisement for it happening. So I think it's word of mouth by realtors or us visiting the communities or them popping in. So I haven't seen anything really advertising it, just getting it through my real estate profiles.
Well, when you get that, we'll put it on the show.
Okay.
Jessica, what do you think? You think the same situation?
I think it's the same situation. Yeah, I think the property I'm speaking about has actually been on the market for over 90 days. So I think something needed to happen. The builders are kind of full. Of course, they have the leverage, right? They get to hold on to things a little bit longer than resale. And so when you see the builder and behind it having to make some changes, I think that's optimistic for buyers, knowing that there's a little more leverage than take it or leave it.
Yeah.
I was at a couple homes last weekend. One was $1.4 million. And I couldn't believe, I was shocked at how unprepared to show this house was. And it'd been on the market for a while. Little things like the refrigerator, the outside, the carpet, the countertops, paint. I was walking around and going, 1.4 million. It's not selling.
Yeah.
But I was shocked. And I saw some that just looked like $1 million, of course. But this one was like, really? And the yard, big weeds, the pool was green. I'm like, 1.4 million.
Wow. And maybe it's the location. Are you paying for the location versus the house?
No, I don't want to say where it was, but it
okay.
Let's see, it was not no view, so you weren't getting that. So I've seen some views. I was up in Los Angeles last weekend as well, and they've got some tremendous views. Although today they're probably choking on smoke because we got that big fire on the other side of the Superstitions. They actually evacuated Canyon Lake and Tortilla Flats today.
Oh wow!
I know, that's pretty rough. So
that's scary.
Yeah, so we don't want.
Is that the one they're calling the Sandhill Fire or something like that?
I think this Sandhill Fire's up New River.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was watching that on the news right before I came to the office to be on here, and literally the fire is right behind these multi-million-dollar houses. I mean, it's crazy how close it is, and they're just keeping it at bay. It's smoldering, but yeah.
Well, folks, I will not be here next week. I'm going to be out of state, so we're not going to have a Thursday at 5 o'clock. So unless you want to run the show.
I don't know. I don't trust myself. We'll bring everybody up to speed the following Thursday as far as our prediction on rates, and we'll have a better landing pad to talk about rates and what the heck's going on afterwards. So we'll bring them up to speed then.
It wouldn't be the same, Rick. It just wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't be the same.
Well, it doesn't mean it'd be worse.
You're the Johnny Carson. You're the Johnny Carson. I'm just Ed McMahon.
Yeah, no, I'm the guy with the mouse.
Yeah.
So, so I yield all the power here.
Yeah.
So, like this, and then I can bring you back. So anyway, well, I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we will see you not next week, but the week after. Until then, have a great time. And the weather's going to start getting cooler. Take care.
Yep. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.